Good evening from ABC21. I'm meteorologist Gabe Prough alongside meteorologist Matthew Bullock. We're coming on this evening because there is a tornado warning now in effect for parts of Kosciusko, also into Whitley and Noble counties. Now, we do want to stress this is a radar indicated tornado warning, so we don't have visual confirmation of a tornado at this time. It goes into effect until 7 o'clock p.m. tonight, so for the next 20 minutes or so. Again, this is a storm that's now into northern Kosciusko County. Matthew, if you want to talk about a little bit about who's in the path there.
Yeah, so far the towns that we're seeing in the path, you got Etna, Greene, and now you see towns like Syracuse, Warsaw, even North Webster in the area. But again, we still have plenty of time just to get in your safe shelter. But if you are in these areas, Etna, Greene, Warsaw, North Webster, even Albion, Tri-Lakes, you definitely wait in your safe space, find the most central located area in your home, and make sure there's no windows, make sure you hunker down, make sure you have a pillow to put over your head just in case this tornado does touch down for us. So this is radar indicated. Here's the times, what we have right now. Again, around 7:09 Albion. You better make sure you get in your safe zone now because we do have about, 30 minutes until that system?
Yeah, about 20 minutes or so.
About 20 minutes this system will move through. And Newville, about 7:38. So as of now, if you live in Silver Point, you have to get in your safe spot right now. And so, Gabe, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Matthew, I do want to stress, though, something that we've been talking about through the evening newscasts, too, is that with these kinds of storms, these are typically quick spin-up tornadoes. So we're not looking at long-lived events, which is some good news for you this evening, but you still need to take shelter, again, get to the innermost room of your home on the lowest level and try to get into a sturdy structure too. You can also see there was also a second tornado warning just issued to the north that is just out of our viewing area, but it does include also the city of Syracuse into northern Whitley County. Here's a look again at our storm relative velocity. What this does is it allows us to basically look at what direction the winds are moving in and how fast they're moving. When we look at these bright reds and the blues next to each other, that can indicate rotation. Matthew, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we're seeing about two couplets. The first one, off towards our north, you see the really bright, shiny colors. There is a little rotation, one towards our north of Napanee. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yep.
Napanee. And then we have one south of that, just west of Hastings. This little couplet down here towards our south and west. Now, the one thing we've seen with the storm system, they're very short-lived, quick spin-ups, but we've seen plenty of tornado warnings in Illinois. So this storm system has the potential to bring some rotation in our area, but hopefully these will be quick-lived as these systems begin to move through. Gabe, what are you noticing?
Yeah, Matthew, it does look to me, especially this couplet down into Kosciusko County, which is that original warning that we came on for. It looks very broad to me, which is some good news in regards to it's not looking very tight. We were actually, Matthew and I were talking a little earlier this evening. Some of these warnings were look tighter than this. I don't know. What do you think? You think those earlier ones looked a little more impressive?
It did, and so when we looked at the debris signature, we didn't really see anything. Can I actually?
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Let's take a look at that. You see, with those couplets, you can't even tell where the debris signature is. So usually when we look at the debris signature, that indicates, if a tornado did touch down, you would see a bunch of funky looking colors in a small couplet. And so far, I'm not seeing that. What are you seeing?
Yeah, this radar product, what it does is it basically looks at the size of the particles in the atmosphere and basically scans them to see, are they round, are they elongated? And debris, of course, is different from raindrops. So it typically appears as these blue colors, but the problem we're running into is you can actually see the radar is here in North Webster. So we're actually too close to the radar in this case to pick up any of that debris. But again, I do want to go ahead and stress again those locations where you need to be getting into your safe spot in North Webster on the north side of the city of Warsaw in Kosciusko County is where that tornado warning is in effect. Again, also for the city of Syracuse as we move on to the east, places like Ligonier to just to the west of Albion as we go into Noble County. That's western Noble County. That also includes places like Cromwell where that's into effect. As we also move down to the south into southern or northern Whitley County, just to the north of Lorain, to the west of Tri-Lakes, is where basically between State Road 5 and State Road 109 in northern Whitley County is where that tornado warning is in effect. Again, for other parts of Kosciusko County, if you zoom in a little bit closer there, Silver Point, again, North Webster, these areas, you need to get to that innermost room in your home. And again, another quick reminder of what to do whenever there is a tornado warning that's issued. Matthew, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so what a tornado means is that a tornado has been spotted or it has been radar indicated, just what we just saw. We saw the little couplet, a little bit of rotation, so it was radar indicated. And if you do see a tornado warning, that means to take shelter immediately. So go inside your house, find the most innermost centralized location in your house that has no windows, like bathrooms, especially on the first floor. If you live in a manufactured home, you have to leave and find another safe shelter, either gyms. And if you're worried about social distancing, your life comes first as we have tornado warnings, as this is very short-lived, but it's something to keep an eye on. And Gabe, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Matthew, and especially something to keep in mind too this evening. These storms are moving very quickly, so if you are already in the tornado warning, it's likely too late now to leave your home. So you need to find the closest possible location. And again, so here's a look at the big picture as we reset this evening. You can see we have several severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, especially off to the west. Then there's this very large severe thunderstorm warning that stretches from LaGrange County down into Noble, also into Whitley and Kosciusko counties. So those four counties are part of this large severe thunderstorm warning that, by the way, also includes the threat of 80-mile-per-hour winds or greater. So another point worth noting, even if you are not in this tornado warning, it's very likely you could be seeing similar damage or similar winds as if there was a tornado, because of these tornadoes are very quick spin-ups by nature. Let's take a look at that velocity product too, just to take a look at what the radar is seeing. And again, even these areas, again, these are not areas where there's the tornado warning in effect. We are seeing some very strong winds. Let's go ahead and query those. Again, these are radar estimates, but look at that. Winds near 70 miles per hour, near 80 there just to the north of Napanee. Again, that's just out of the viewing area. But also down to the south into Kosciusko County. Look at that, the radar picking up winds close to 80 miles per hour. Now, typically these numbers are a little high. They're not normally quite this high, but if these winds are reaching the ground, it's likely close to that 60, 70 mile per hour range of winds. So again, something to take seriously. And nonetheless, you'll want to get to that innermost part of your home and into that innermost room, Matthew. So yeah, anything else you'd like to add there?
Yeah, another thing I want to add, besides the tornado warning, even just the straight line winds, we could see broken down tree limbs. From the past reports we've seen in Illinois, we saw broken down tree branches, which caused power outages. So any of these areas in these counties, like LaGrange, Noble, Whitley, those kind of counties, I would definitely charge your electronic devices, your laptop, your phones, and your iPads, just in case when these strong lines of storms could knock down potentially power outages for us. So something to keep an eye on. That's the one thing I would also recommend. Or if you live in areas just even east of the severe warned area, this would be your time to plan. If you have any outdoor furniture, make sure you secure them or bring them inside. And so that's the one thing I would highly recommend. Make sure you bring the pets, furniture inside. That's another thing I would like to recommend. What would you like to recommend, Gabe?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, especially and to keep in mind this evening, because this line of storms is moving off pretty quickly to the east. So if you are not under any of these warnings at this time, you're going to want to take that necessary action to prepare. Let's go ahead and put a storm track on this entire line of storms that's moving close to 55, 60 miles per hour. We'll go ahead and put it there on 55. There's a look at that. So here are the when you can expect that. Fort Wayne, this is going to be on your doorstep in the city of Fort Wayne by 7:30. That's less than an hour. So you have a little less than an hour to prepare into places like Huntington, a little after 7 o'clock. North Webster, again, that storm is knocking on your doorstep there within the next couple of minutes. The city of Decatur, again, closer to the eastern parts of the viewing area, around 7:40 p.m. this evening. So this line, again, another silver lining here, within a couple hours or so, it will be well out of the viewing area. So this is a short-term threat, but again, if you are in those cities or are not under a warning yet, now is the time to prepare and take that action. And as Matthew said, even if you're not in that tornado warning, these strong straight line winds are enough to cause tree damage or, again, blow around any furniture, blow around any debris that could still threaten your life. So something to keep in mind there. Let's take again another closer look at the velocity signatures here with these storms. And just to see, because again, as we mentioned, these are typically very short-lived little spin-ups.
You see a little bit of rotation towards the southwest, but again, it wasn't like ideally what we saw about, 2 minutes ago? So again, Again, it's a quick spin up for us, but again, we're seeing rotation. You see another one just maybe near, what, Milford Junction?
Yeah, Milford Junction, also seeing possibly a weak little spin up there. Again, that's extreme northern Kosciusko County. But another issue we're going to be running into here is we're getting very close to the radar, and so you can already see all of these maybe more strange pixels. That's some contamination that's caused due to just being so close to the radar site here. But actually, yeah, that little spin up just to the north of the viewing area where that warning is in effect, perhaps to the west of New Paris there, is maybe looking like it has a little bit more rotation there.
How's the debris signature look like, Gabe?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's go ahead and take a look at that now. You can see, again, we're so close to the radar site. Perhaps in this little area, we could be seeing some debris.
Yeah, that looks pretty more indicated than what we saw the past 5 minutes.
We did just get an update from the National Weather Service. Still, the storm is still radar indicated, so that, again, if there's any piece of good news, some more there, that we don't have a confirmed tornado at this time. It is still radar indicated. And it has slowed down a little bit. Now the National Weather Service says it's moving to the east at 50 miles per hour. It goes into effect until 7 p.m. So that's for 9 more minutes that this warning goes into effect. And again, that will take it eventually into northern Whitley County, also into western Noble County. So we can put another storm track on this. Again, if it's now moving at 50 miles per hour, that will give you a little bit of extra time if you are now into places like just to the north of Columbia City there. Here's a look at that, Matthew.
Yeah, so areas like North Webster, you got 6:55 for us, so about 5 minutes. So if you haven't taken shelter down, do it now. You got 5 minutes before the storm moves through. Albion, 7:13 for us, and then Allen, 7:24 for us. Auburn, 7:35, so you have about 45 minutes to get ready. But again, I'd rather just act now, have your plan of execution, just in case if any tornadoes have touched down. Butler, you got about 7:47, so you got about an hour before this storm begins to move through. But again, I would not wait. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have all your family. Find a most central located place inside your house that's away from windows. And if you're in a manufactured home, make sure you get out of there. Find a different place to seek shelter, because again, if you're in a manufactured home, it's not so good news with a tornado.
Yeah, and I do want to also point out places like Auburn or Butler, even in the eastern parts of Albion, you are just outside of that tornado warning. But again, this is still something where an evening you are going to want to remain weather aware, as these storms really, we could see these spin ups all through the evening as this line pushes off to the east. I do want to also mention, Matthew, I just noticed there's a new severe thunderstorm warning now into effect for parts of Wabash and Huntington counties there. That goes into effect until 7:30 p.m. It also is only for winds of 60 miles per hour. So another piece of a positive sign that perhaps there may be a bit of a weakening trend with these storms as they're pushing to the east. If we're seeing these warnings issued for winds of 60 miles per hour rather than along the lines of 80 as we were a little bit earlier.
And Gabe, I was wondering if you could show me the local reports shown, just seeing what kind of things we've been seeing. You know, is it damaging winds, any power outages? So let's see. Ooh, what is this damaging wind?
It looks like just to the west of Kosciusko County, there was a damage report there. It looks like it was for some wind damage as there's trees and power lines down, along with some pea-sized hail. That's in Bourbon, Indiana. There again, that's just to the west of the Kosciusko County line. So again, even if there is not a tornado, which there are some signs on radar to indicate that there could be, with these straight line winds, we could very well still see damage, even if there's not a tornado.
And damage and winds, not only that, the cloud to ground lighting. Can you show the lightning data?
Yeah, that's a good point there.
I mean, look at that. All that cloud to ground lighting. That's another thing to keep an eye on that can do any damages, such as power outages. They can knock down trees, start fires. So that is something you want to hear. So wow, we've seen already
nearly 200 lightning strikes there, yeah.
Wow.
And so these storms, we're still seeing them at least maintaining some strength, as we're still seeing plenty of lightning. This is just in our viewing area. This whole storm complex as a whole, a little bit earlier, was seeing well over 1,000 lightning strikes. Let's take a look at that now, just to get an idea there. You can see, look at how large this line of storms is. Still seeing upwards of 1,000 lightning strikes with this complex of storms. And also, look at this line of severe thunderstorm warnings stretching all the way through the state of Indiana, all the way down near Indianapolis, also down near Vincennes and Terre Haute, the southern extent of that line of storms. That again is continuing to persist. Also, something worthy of note, there are no other tornado warnings other than those in place right now, which that does still go into effect until 7 p.m. And again, areas like North Webster, this is knocking on your doorstep. Places like Ligonier, also to the west of Albion into Noble County there is where this storm is very close to. You also notice, Matthew, a little bit of that notching there, which is another indication that we could be seeing some rotation. We can take another look at the velocity product.
The velocity.
And yeah, we're just right over the radar site, so seeing some contamination there. Yeah, so yeah, we're in that cone of silence, as we meteorologists call it. We're at that area right over the radar site. We can't see where the storm is located. But again, a reminder, tornadoes are not the biggest threat this evening. Damaging winds are by far our primary concern, as we are expected to see those winds upwards of 80 miles per hour are continuing to be possible through the rest of this evening. Again, with that isolated spin up is still possible. It will likely be pretty brief. You'll still want to, again, take these tornado warnings to heart to get into the most interior part of your home, the most innermost structure there. Let's take one more look at the velocity product again, just to see what we're looking at here. That northern couplet here, this is the one that's just to the north of Kosciusko County there. We're still seeing a bit of rotation with those reds and greens next to each other. And this is moving into the viewing area. So even though it's out of the viewing area at this time, it's still an area we're going to want to watch and keep our eyes on as it continues to push east. Eventually, that will be headed towards Ligonier, also then into western LaGrange County too. That storm in particular is moving to the east at around 55 miles per hour there. 50 miles per hour.
And I also have one question for you, Gabe. You know, what if people are out there driving, driving home from work? It's about that time when you go home. What would be the safe bet if you're driving and you're during a tornado warning? Like, what would you do? Yeah,
that's a good question there, Matthew. If you are in a car, your first choice, of course, is to pull over and get into a sturdy structure, if at all possible. If there are no sturdy structures nearby, you'll want to, you have a decision to make, whether it's get into a ditch and duck down. But if there are no ditches, it's best to just stay in your car, get down below the windows, make sure your seatbelt is on. Also, keep the ignition on. When the ignition of your car is on, that allows the airbag systems to stay activated, and which is especially important if your car gets lofted, because that's a big concern in a tornado like this. Again, we are not expecting large destructive tornadoes for this evening that will be lofting cars. These are typically those quick spin-up variety tornadoes that can cause a little bit of structural damage, but it can still threaten your life. So we have 2 minutes left on this tornado warning as it remains in place. We're still monitoring for updates from the National Weather Service, still not seeing any of those at this time. But we'll put one more track on this to give you an idea of where this is headed as it pushes off to the east. Again, it's moving at around 50 miles per hour. That will begin put it into parts of Noble and also DeKalb counties down the line, also possibly into parts of northern Allen County, Matthew.
Yeah, and so areas like Cromwell, you got pretty much 6 minutes before this storm will be over your area, so make sure you head shelter now. 713 Albion, it'll be over your spot. So again, if you haven't gotten to your safe shelter now, make sure you do it immediately. As we get through 724 Allen, it'll be right over Allen, just north of Huntertown into Noble County. So again, this is your time to get prepared. Auburn and Hicksville, you have a little bit more time compared to others, but don't wait it out. Make sure you have a plan now. If you have any batteries, first aid kit, make sure you have all your family members that live inside your home. You have a plan. Find the most intersection of your house, no windows, preferably on the bottom floor. As you have any other shelters, make sure you have some water with you. Make sure you have some either rechargeables to charge your electronic devices, have your radio on with you. And then also another thing to keep an eye, if you have any bicycle helmets, you can just put over your head just in case if a tornado did touch down, or even straight line winds, would be able to knock down trees in your house, or knock down roofs. I mean, just something to be safe with.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, Matthew. It may sound a little silly, but a bike helmet can save your life if there's some flying projectiles, and protecting your head is really the most important thing. I've also seen a few Facebook comments of a few asking if Allen County needs to seek shelter. This line of storms is now moving to the east, and Allen County eventually will be in the line of fire. There are no active warnings. Also, all the tornado warnings have now been expired for our viewing area. There are still those 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. That extends for LaGrange, Noble, Kosciusko, Whitley, Huntington, and Wabash counties until at least 7:30 p.m., so that's another half hour this evening. Something to note, though, the National Weather Service has mentioned they have put these tornado possible tags on the warnings, so that means we could see another quick spin up at any time for this evening. Of really an evening you want to remain weather aware. Keep it tuned to us here on ABC21, both online, on Facebook, and here on the air, and we will keep you updated. As for now, we'll send you right now back to regular programming. Good evening to you again from ABC21. I'm meteorologist Gabe Prough alongside meteorologist Matthew Bullock. We're coming back on the air because there is a new tornado warning. This includes parts of Whitley and Allen County. So this does include the city of Fort Wayne, actually a large chunk of the city of Fort Wayne and a large chunk of Allen County. This goes into effect until 7:45 p.m. and it is a radar indicated tornado. The National Weather Service says that a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 7 miles south of Columbia City, moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. So let's take a closer look at this storm in the area of interest here, where we could be seeing a bit of rotation. And take a look at our storm relative velocity. Again, that's actually quite a signal there. As you can see, these green colors indicate winds moving towards the radar. Those reds and bright yellows indicate winds moving away from the radar. When we see those moving in a counterclockwise direction and they're very bright and close together, that indicates some strong rotation. And Matthew, that is some pretty significant rotation there into southern Whitley County. This is headed to the east towards Roanoke and eventually into places like Aboit.
Yeah, the one thing I've noticed, especially with the velocity, with the rotation, this is a better signature than what we've seen the past couple of hours we've seen. Like the other ones we saw were just bright colors, but this is a definitely indicator. You see rotation at the greens and the reds mixing together, and we get that nice little rotation, that counterclockwise rotation, that produces a rotation which could produce a tornado. Now it is radar indicated, so it's not confirmed that it's touchdown or not. But another thing to keep an eye on, look down towards our south in Goebbelsville. Yeah. You start to see very high reflectivity. Can you show me one thing?
Yeah, of course.
Can you show me what the wind speed is down towards our south? I mean, it's very high. And
this is actually that couplet there. It's winds of 70 miles per hour. So not even including the rotation, just the straight line winds alone. We're seeing winds near 70 miles per hour. Now, again, this is a radar indicated wind speed. So typically these values run a little higher than what they actually are. But at the very least, we could be very well seeing winds 50 to 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour reaching the ground in this location.
And Gabe, I was wondering if you can show me the track of the tornado warning so we know what areas that need to take shelter immediately.
Yeah, so this is moving to the east at 55 miles per hour, and we'll go ahead and put a track on that for you in just a moment here. Again, it's exiting now Whitley and northern Huntington County, and it's about to move into Allen County. So here's a look at that. That's again moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. Matthew, if you want to kind of go over some of those locations that could be impacted.
Of course. So at 7:20, Aboit. This is where the storm will be over your region, either tornado or not. We're still going to see very strong straight line winds. So there's something to keep an eye on. Make sure you take shelter. Fort Wayne, 7:29 for us. So we have about 15 minutes. So you might want to get in shelter now. Have a plan. Make sure you find the most central located area in your house with no windows, preferably on the first floor. And I would also recommend, if you have a helmet, a bike helmet, put that on. Make sure you have your family, along with maybe some bottled waters, just to keep yourself safe. Another thing is that if you're in a manufactured home, you make sure you have to get out of the home and seek shelter that is safe. Gabe, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we are getting a few storm reports, Matthew, right now in from the National Weather Service that are not related to this storm. But again, this is all forming along the same line. Let's show that to you now. As you can see, it's a long line of storms stretching much through the state of Indiana, and basically our entire viewing area from LaGrange County all the way down to Grant County. Again, the tornado warning, just a small part of that. So along this line, we're seeing all different kinds of wind damage. Actually, at the National Weather Service office itself, they are seeing power lines down on the north side of North Webster. And actually, we just got a brand new report in from Huntington. This is a preliminary report from an emergency manager of a possible funnel cloud. That's at the intersection of 900 North and 100 East in Huntington County. So again, let's go ahead closer in. This is in extreme northern Huntington County to the west of Roanoke. This is moving to the east. So here's a look at, again, where that area of rotation is. We'll try to get you a little bit closer there to street level. This is actually, Matthew, as you had noted earlier, that secondary area of rotation that you can see right here, that's probably where that funnel cloud has been reported, where there's also then the warning for this little couplet into Whitley County there, southern Whitley County. So both of these, again, are actually the city of Roanoke. You need to be in your safe place right now, that area of rotation very close to the intersection of 900 North and State Road 9 in Huntington County as it's approaching the city of Roanoke. And again, that also means it's getting very, very close to Allen County. Let's also take a look at the correlation coefficient. We were using this product a little bit earlier to, again, this tells us basically what the particles in the atmosphere look like. So we're looking for those irregular particles that may be debris. I'm not seeing a whole lot in that area. Again, this is kind of the region that we're watching for those possible storms there, if I circle that there. And if we take a look at the debris signature, there's not a whole lot in that region, perhaps maybe in this little area where we're seeing some of these lighter colors, but it's not a clear signature. So at this time, it's still a radar indicated tornado warning. It goes until 7:30 p.m. So that's another 10 minutes or so as this storm makes its way into Allen County. And Matthew, I don't know about you, it did look like to me that these rotation signatures may be broadening out a little bit.
See, that's what I was thinking, because about 5 minutes earlier, you can easily see where the rotation was. Yeah. Now it's kind of hard to see, but you can see a little bit of rotation where earlier we saw an easily indicated rotation, but now it's kind of hard to see. But you definitely see some heavy winds. See these bright reflectivities. We're seeing very gusty winds. Actually, can you show me what the winds we're seeing just west of Roanoke?
Yeah. We'll take a look at those. And here you go. Seeing those winds close to 70 miles per hour, not a little bit greater.
That can definitely knock down trees. That can knock down even power lines. So for areas even out of the viewing area, you're seeing that what the storm can produce, damaging winds that could produce power outages. So again, as of now, if you're even out of the area, this is your time to plan and make sure you have your phones charged or any electronic devices. Have a plan where to go just in case this storm, you get warned for either severe thunderstorm or tornado warning for us. And so again, looking at the reflectivity, we're seeing very gusty winds, straight line winds, but again, a little bit of rotation as well with that tornado warning. Gabe, what can you tell us?
Yeah, there's also been now a new very large severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued. This now includes the central part of the viewing area. So all of Allen County is now in that severe thunderstorm warning. We're also looking now at northern Wells County. This is essentially drawn just to the south of State Road 224 that again runs through Decatur. It runs to the south of Ossian. You were included in this warning too. On the north side of the city of Bluffton, this is a severe thunderstorm warning, so separate from the tornado warning. It also includes now the city of Huntington, all of Allen County, then now also all of DeKalb and Noble counties, so the cities of Kendallville, Auburn. That warning has been issued for the possibility of 60 mile per hour wind speeds there. So again, on the lower end of what we've been looking at, but of course the tornado warning is our main concern at the moment. And again, it does include much of the city of Fort Wayne, and in particular southwestern Fort Wayne and the southwestern part of Allen County, but also really much of the city. Even us here at the station on the northwest side of the city, we got the alert, at least I did on my phone. So that's another good reminder. Make sure you have those alerts enabled both on our weather app and those wireless emergency alerts on your phone that will wake you up this evening or alert you if there is a tornado warning that's issued. Again, this is for much of the city of Fort Wayne. You will want to go to the innermost part of your room on the lowest level of your home. And again, usually that's something like a closet or a bathroom. And if possible, grab something like a bike helmet that you can put on to protect you. Also put some shoes on too. If we can also take a look outside at some of our Skyview network cameras, let's take a look and see what we're seeing outside at the station there. This is looking off to the west of Fort Wayne, I believe. Is that yeah, to the west of Fort Wayne there, and some very stormy skies. Again, this is moving our way also there. As we take a look at, here's our tower cam there. This is pointed to the northwest, I believe. So again, the direction that storm's coming. Yeah, you can see the lightning there, some lower hanging clouds. And another point to note here, where that area of circulation is located, that you're probably not going to see any tornado. It's very likely going to be rain wrapped, as you can see the edge of the storm is right here, basically on the Allen County line now. But the circulation is a little bit embedded there. It's now, it looks to me at least, the primary area of rotation now near Roanoke. This northern one has kind of fizzled out a little bit, which, as we've been saying all evening, Matthew, is really not that uncommon with these types of storms, when along a line of storms, we'll typically just get these very small spin-ups that, while they can be weak, can also produce some damage.
Another thing I want to mention, I know a lot of people love the weather and want to take pictures, but again, I don't highly recommend, if you stay outside trying to get a nice picture of the funnel cloud, or even if the tornado did touch down, I'd rather have you take shelter, be safe. Your life is way more important than just a picture. Yeah. And another thing I do want to talk about is, can we talk about the reports we've seen with the storm? Any power outages, any wind reports?
We've had some reports now of some limbs down into Huntington County, and actually in the city of Huntington. Also, a lot of tree debris is being reported in the roadway in the northern half of Huntington County. So that's this area where we're seeing both the strong winds and the area of rotation. So again, as we've been saying all night long, just because you're not in the tornado warning doesn't mean you're not going to get any storm damage here. And because these straight line winds will very likely cause damage similar to a weak tornado, and definitely can in certain some locations. We also do have one of our ABC21 storm spotters, Ashley Lindsay, has also reported the sirens are going off in downtown Fort Wayne, as they should be, because again, this tornado warning goes into effect for another 6 minutes, although it likely won't get quite to the city, to downtown in that time period. Let's take one more look at the track of this storm. And actually, some good news here. The tornado warning now has been trimmed. Before, you'll remember, it did include up into the city of Fort Wayne, actually into the northern part of the city. Now we're just looking at southern Allen County. That includes the airport and areas to the east. So that includes State Road 27 there. That includes areas like Poe. Also into the north on State Road 1 near the airport. The city of Waynedale also would be included there in this tornado warning that now has been trimmed. So if you're in the city of Fort Wayne, it's worth noting that tornado warning is no longer in effect for you. This tornado, though, this storm is still moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. The National Weather Service has continued the tornado warning, actually, my mistake, until 7:45. So this goes into effect for another 20 minutes. And let's take a look, again, a little bit closer. So areas like Waynedale, Yoder, also into areas like Poe to the north of that, also into Hessen Castle there by the airport. And really knocking on the doorstep, though, of places like Timbercrest and Forest Ridge. So as I mentioned, we're going to put a track on this for you again to show you areas that will be impacted by this storm in the next few minutes as it progresses to the east at 55 miles per hour. And Matthew, if you want to kind of highlight those locations.
Yeah, so areas right now, Zanesville, 725. So this is immediately getting to your safe shelter right now because the storm is immediately coming to your area. Next place, Williams, 744. You got about 20 minutes. Now is the time to get into your safe shelter. 752, you have Monroeville. This is your time. Again, you got 30 minutes to get to your safe spot, have a plan, get your bike helmets, have your family huddled together in the most centralized location, and preferably on the lower floor of your home. If you live in a manufactured home, again, you want to get out of there and seek a different shelter that's much safer. Other locations you got to keep an eye on would be Van Wert. I saw that was about, 8:14, I believe?
Yeah, so again, the tornado warning doesn't go into effect that long, but that's where these storms are headed. And as we had mentioned earlier when we cut in at 6:30, that with the nature of the storms tonight, it's very possible that we get these very quick spin-ups along the line that could cause a brief tornado or two. And speaking of that, let's also go ahead and take a look at this velocity. Also, we do have a new report from Roanoke, where the fire chief there, again, this is a preliminary report, so you want to take that with a grain of salt there. The fire chief has a third-party report of a funnel cloud that's picking up debris on the west side of Roanoke town. They're actually headed out there right now to check for some damage. And also, if we have a funnel cloud and there's damage reported, that's a tornado. So if you see a funnel and there is debris on the ground, that is a tornado. So we have some preliminary indications there could very well be a tornado, or at least there was at one time. So with the nature of these storms, again, they're very brief. They typically spin up very quickly and then dissipate. Let's go ahead and take a look at correlation coefficient. And yeah, Matthew, we're right on the edge of this storm, so it's having a difficult time picking it up, but possibly we could have a debris signature right in this area, but very, very messy.
Right where you're at. I think that's a pretty decent indicator, but again, it's kind of tough to see. But earlier we saw a definite indication of rotation with the velocity. Now it's still kind of hard to see.
Yeah, it's looking much more broad at this time.
But I mean, again, you can probably see a little bit of rotation somewhere around here, what I can notice east of Roanoke for us.
Yeah, so that's southwestern Allen County, north of Zanesville. So that's right over basically the intersection of Lafayette Center Road and Lower Huntington Road, right by the airport. So this is approaching the airport quickly. Of course, the airport is on Ferguson Road near Bluffton Road, Airport Expressway there. So that's where this storm is headed. So if you have anyone that's at the airport, you'll want them to know they need to take shelter immediately, as this storm is practically right on top of them. Radar is typically delayed a little bit, and when we get these scans in, they're typically a few minutes behind of where the storm actually is. But yeah, as Matthew mentioned, it's a very broad signature. You see a very long stretch of these greens followed by some of these pinks. We typically look for a very tight, centralized area of rotation. This is very, very broad, and there's a new scan. This looking even more broad to me, Matthew. If anything now, I think the main concern would be these straight line winds.
Yeah, and can you show me just the velocity winds, what we're seeing?
Let's switch over to that product there, and wow, look at that.
That's very bright.
Yeah, so look at that.
75. We get 75 mile an hour winds. That's very strong winds that can knock down trees, that can fall on power lines. So we could see possible power outages from these damaging winds. So again, even though if a tornado would or would not touch down, you still have to take shelter because of the damaging winds. 77 miles an hour. Very gusty winds, almost gusty as at one time back in, what was it, May?
Yeah, Matthew, let's take a quick look, actually. We have a look live outside the building. This is our news director, Jonathan Shelley, taking a look at that. That is looks to me to be a shelf cloud that's about to move in, which typically looks a little scary looking, but is not necessarily indicative of any rotation or anything overly concerning in that regard. But maybe a little bit of spin in those clouds there, which again it's been the story this evening, as we've seen just these very isolated spin-ups over there. Anything catch your attention, Matthew?
Well, definitely. Anytime you see a shelf cloud, you can also associate with very strong winds behind it. You can definitely see a nice little arch, so we could see a nice little gust front. I mean, if Jonathan can already see this soon, it's coming to our direction.
Yeah.
We could probably hear it soon.
There he's headed inside there, because you can see the rain is following the shelf cloud there. And a good reminder, we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Allen County. In fact, for most of our counties, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect that due to these strong straight line winds. And look at the radar, just how bright those colors are. It's really indicative of those strong straight line winds. And I would guess here at the station, we're going to be hearing those winds or feeling them pretty quickly.
I can already hear it.
There's a look at our tower cam. You can already see it shaking there with some of those droplets of the rainfall. And the wind's about to pick up here.
Yeah, and even if you saw a tornado touchdown, it'd be so tough to see with it being rain wrapped.
And I believe this is looking off to the west. Which camera is this, Kelly? So this is from Science Central, looking off to the west. Kelly's our director who's helping us out this evening here. And yeah, you can see that shelf cloud there behind that, again, is typically the leading edge that's actually caused by those winds rushing out ahead of the thunderstorm. They pick up some of that moist, warm air. As the warm air rises, it condenses, forming that cloud that, again, looks scary, but doesn't necessarily indicate a tornado, but as Matthew mentioned, is really indicative of some pretty strong winds.
And also, we had the perfect conditions for severe weather today. And earlier today, we had clear skies, which allowed us to heat up with the moisture. So now we're starting to see those thunderstorms. They had the ingredients to keep being self-sufficient. and still keeping its strength, which I'm pretty shocked 'cause I thought it was going to show a little bit of weakening, but it's been strong for the past 4 hours for us.
Yeah, and we are getting a lot of damage reports coming in too, primarily from Huntington and Whitley counties, which is again these storms where we've been getting the tornado warnings from. And there, look at that. You can actually see this is looking off to the northwest, I believe, northeast actually. So this storm's coming in behind us there. And yeah, you can see the clearing off in the distance.
Do you see a little bit of scud clouds a little bit towards our north?
Yeah, so that's a good point there, Matthew. So sometimes we'll see these lower hanging clouds. We call them scud. And we typically will get photos of them with many people often thinking they are funnel clouds, but really they're just some scary looking lower hanging clouds that form again in a similar manner to shelf clouds. It's just when we have this much moisture today, we've had dew points in the 70s. We get a lot of these lower hanging clouds. We also have had a report, one of our ABC21 storm spotters to the south of Kendallville, where we've had reports of winds that have took a trampoline and outdoor furniture. So we are watching that there. And again, that's just another reminder that even these locations where we don't have the tornado warnings in effect, we're still getting damaging winds or straight line winds that's causing a bit of wind damage. So another reminder there, Matthew.
You know what? Another thing I want to show is the lightning data. I mean, this storm is producing plenty of cloud to ground lightning. I mean, look at that. I mean, how many strikes have we seen? Can you show me what?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and query that to take a look at how many lightning strikes we have. There you go, close to 200.
Wow, that's a lot of light. I can already hear the wind blowing the rain against the station, but heavy rain along with cloud to ground lightning, so that's another threat besides, isolates, quick spin ups, damaging winds, but also lightning is another indicator of what we're seeing.
And these storms have also really maintained their strength. We've seen that same amount of lightning over the past hour or two, if not more than that. And yeah, let's take again one more look at this tornado warning again that is now moving through southern Allen County. The area of rotation there is approaching the airport. And okay, just had another report also of a 69-mile-per-hour wind gust at I-69 and the Airport Expressway exit. That is very close to where this area of rotation is at. So it's good to know we have some storm spotters in the area. It doesn't sound like they're seeing necessarily a tornado at this time, but as we've been stressing, really, these straight line winds are something that's also a concern and that is continuing to cause damage, as we've seen throughout Huntington and Whitley counties. Now we're also seeing it in Noble County. We have that ABC21 storm spotter report in Kendallville that's continuing to see that. Matthew?
And one thing I want to show is just, can you go back to reflectivity one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the velocity?
Yeah, the velocity. So again, with the high reflectivity, you definitely see some very strong winds. And boy, Roanoke, it's coming your way to Austin, 78-mile-an-hour winds, so close to 80, very strong, damaging winds that can also knock down trees, even shingles off your roof. So again, if you didn't secure your outdoor furniture on your patio, they could be blown away in your backyard. Hopefully you have a fence. But again, with damaging winds, what we're seeing, they can knock down power lines, could happen if trees were supposed to have fallen down. So even though you're safe from the storm, can we zoom out just a little bit and have the warning polygons show? Yep. Yeah, so even if you're not even in the warning section, so areas like Paulding, Defiance, Van Wert, this is your time to plan. We have damaging winds, even potential quick spin up of tornadoes. So this is your time, gather your things, make sure you charge your electronic devices, your phones, just in case if there's any potential power outages or even potential damaging winds that can produce damage.
Yeah, and we are also continuing to get more of those damage reports coming in. We also have a new one from Churubusco. That's at 550 north between Blue Lake Road and US 33. Some power poles and power lines that are down. And that's been, again, a consistent story. We're seeing trees down. We're seeing power lines down, which is, again, kind of what we were expecting this evening when we get these straight-line wind events that can typically cause those power lines, outages, those trees down also as well. We also have anchor Brian McElhatton standing by. Brian, are you seeing anything in particular of note that we haven't been mentioning?
Not right now. I was outside and I stepped in, and I can tell you here in Fort Wayne on the northwest side of the city, boy, those winds are so strong. The rain is really coming down now. And the clouds were a bit scary looking as they sort of moved over our broadcast tower.
Yeah.
We saw the northeast view from our camera on top of the
I
tower.
was going to the northeast.
But we heard the tornado sirens sounding throughout the city. So remember, those aren't designed for you to hear indoors. They're designed for you to hear outdoors. So if you do have a cell phone, not everyone does, keep an eye out on those alerts.
Yeah.
But I do want to take a shot from our live camera outside the building. This is our parking lot camera right now, and you can see just how dark those skies are. Normally be still fairly light at this hour, but it looks like nighttime, Gabe.
It does. We also had meteorologist Nick Maruziak just sent me a text there that he's seeing some power flashes on the northeast side of town, which again continues to be that theme that even though you're not in that tornado warning, we're still seeing consistent signs of damage, whether that be from those straight line winds, whether it be tree damage or power lines down. And that's what we've continued to see. Let's go on to take another look here at storm track radar, and again monitoring those areas of rotation. And where this warning is in place, we are really seeing that start to weaken and fizzle out as it looks like some of those green colors, which are the inflow, that's the air moving into the storm. Typically that will get cut off by some of the rain that's coming in, and that's exactly what we're seeing on radar, which is a great sign in terms of weakening and from damage. Also, we're continuing to get some of those reports in Huntington County now. We have a new report at the intersection of 900 North and 300 East, some house damage. Also, an empty silo that was knocked down on 1100 North at 2126 East. So lots of those damage reports coming in from Huntington County, and that's where this storm moved from. So a lot of these brighter colors that were in place into northern Huntington County have now moved into, it's now into northern Wells County, also in through much of Allen County. Actually, Nick Maruziak that mentioned he was on the northeast side, that's where those bright colors are that are indicating those winds close to around 70 miles per hour or greater. And yeah, we can see that they're causing some of those power outages and so forth. Also, again, if you're into northern Wells County, places like Ossian, Markle, Zanesville, also into places like Kingsland, which is the intersection of State Road 1 and State Road 224, you're also likely seeing some very strong winds, Matthew.
And another thing, can you go back to
velocity.
Velocity one more time? Another good sign I've seen, besides the strong winds, is I don't really see a strong indicator of rotation.
Yeah.
I don't really see any of the greens. I just see bright reflectivity that indicates strong winds. So I think that's a good sign. What are you noticing?
Yeah, really along this entire line of storms, as we just move from the north and moving down to the south, we're primarily seeing those red colors. So that indicates, of course, some of those brighter colors. Also, our own Kayla Stewart is also texting me there, some very intense wind in North Fort Wayne. So lots of those in Allen County are seeing those strong straight line winds as this storm is moving through. And that continues to be the main threat this evening, are those strong straight line winds that can produce damage similar to a tornado. We also have a new report now from Allen County that is on I-69 eastbound between Indianapolis Road and State Road 1. So that's that area we were just pointing out close to the airport, the State Road 1 and 469 eastbound. So that would be to the east State Road 1 there, of a semi-truck that has been overturned. So these very strong winds are also not kind to high-profile vehicles. That's why we tell you typically to get indoors to a sturdy structure if at all possible. Now, we still do have 5 more minutes left on this tornado warning that continues to be in effect for, again, that's for southern Allen County. And that really seems like that's started to weaken, Matthew.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean,
really nothing left there.
I don't really see any indicator of rotation. We're just seeing strong winds, which is good. But again, we still have damaging winds to keep focusing on. Another threat I want to talk about, how's the hail?
Yeah, let's take a look at the hail track.
Today.
And perhaps that's back when the storm moved through Whitley County, getting a little bit of hail there. But let's see what the radar estimated there. You can see close to around an inch or so. Yeah, so that would be quarter size. But of course, the radar typically overestimates these hail sizes. So it's very likely. We did get a few reports, Matthew, actually, of some pea-sized hail. So that of course is not severe. But some hail nonetheless, and it's an indication of how strong some of these storms are, as in we can get these strong updrafts that, well, is basically wind moving very quickly up. A lot of the times that comes right back down and hits the surface. Let's time out this whole line of storms for you once again. That's moving at around 55 miles per hour to the east. So we're getting now into the eastern parts of the viewing area. So stay with us here. Within an hour or so, this will all be over and it will be well on its way out. So here's a look at the timing for this system. So the city of Decatur, very close to you, and within just 7 minutes is when the line of storms will be knocking at your doorstep. Into Portland at 7:53 p.m. Then we're talking places into northwest Ohio. That's Defiance County at 8:15, 8:24 in St. Mary's. It's just out of the viewing area to the east of Mercer County there. As this line really continues to maintain its strength, Matthew, and there's still plenty of lightning there.
Yeah, and that's all thanks to what the conditions we saw today. You know, we saw plenty of clear skies, and that allowed all that heat to move in, and also moisture. We saw highs around the mid to upper 80s for us. So we had the heat, and then along with the moisture, we had dew points in the 70s. We get those two ingredients. This storm has enough ingredients to just being self-sustained and not weaken, which I was shocked because earlier today I was like, this storm is still keeping its strength, but I thought it was going to weaken a little bit, but it is keeping its strength. Plenty of cloud to ground lightning, damaging winds, and also quick spin-ups.
Yeah, I do want to mention now the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for Allen, Huntington, and Whitley counties. So that means we no longer have any active tornado warnings in effect for anyone in the viewing area. There is still the severe thunderstorm warning. That includes northern Wells County, northern Adams County. So those are the cities of Decatur and Ossian. All of Allen County is included. So that's Fort Wayne, New Haven, Monroeville, also to the north in places like Grable and Harlan. Further to the north, all of DeKalb County is included. That includes the city of Auburn. And the eastern part of Noble County, that's Kendallville, is included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Again, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. As we continue to move through the rest of the evening and this line of storms progresses eastward, it's very likely we will continue to see some very strong winds, and it's possible we could see another few quick spin-ups and tornadoes. So it's not a time to let your guard down if you are in northwest Ohio this evening especially, or if you are in any of our eastern Indiana counties. You'll want to keep, again, that weather app handy. Keep your phone handy. Make sure you have those wireless emergency alerts on. If you have a weather radio, make sure that's good to go. Keep it tuned to us here on ABC21 and have a way to receive those warnings. And as Brian mentioned, do not rely on a tornado siren to get your alerts. They are only meant to be heard if you are outside. Again, we're going to continue to be here through all night long, keeping an eye on this line of storms as it progresses east. And do note that as these storms move east, those behind them, if the storm has already passed for you, you are in the clear for the rest of the evening. We're keeping a close eye on it. We'll be here in the Weather Center all night long. As for now, we'll send you right now back to regular programming.